through the art of negotiation and stuff, it's actually helped me figure out how to speed up the process and how to
Hmm.
free up some time because it just simplified things so much.
Welcome to the Idaho Real Estate Investor Show, where we bring strategies and knowledge that will help you succeed in Idaho's ever changing real estate market. I'm Jonna Weber. I'm an Idaho investor, realtor, and entrepreneur. I've been successfully investing for over 2 decades and helping countless others do the same. We'll bring you real stories from successful investors, expert advice, and insights to help you build generational wealth through the power of real estate. Whether you're just getting started or well on your way, let's jump in. Hey, friends, today I am bringing you my interview with Jeff Husky. Jeff is such a quality guy. He's a capital strategist and professional lender who's actually spent the last 20 years mastering the art of building wealth through relationships, discipline, and the long game. He's not interested in hyper headlines. He's just focused on helping us all grow. He is an experienced private lender, but beyond that, he has been negotiating and operating his own deals for a couple of decades. You're going to love this. Stay tuned and take notes. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Idaho Real Estate Investing Show. I'm here with my friend Jeff, and we have been chatting just a little bit before the show. I'm really excited about where we're going to take this, and we're going to cover the art of negotiation. And one of the things that I'm so excited about that you guys all need to dial into is if there is something so powerful about mastering that art of negotiation as early as possible in your career, whether it's real estate investing or anything else. And some of the takeaways that Jeff was just sharing are really cool. And I love the fact that he makes it so accessible to learn. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
Yeah. It's great to get to know you this year. And for those that are just getting to know you a little bit, I, of course, will have information on how to contact you at the end. But can you give me just a 30,000 foot view of where you come from and what your background is?
Sure. So I've been in the real estate game now 20, 21 years. I've honestly lost track. So I use my anniversary with my wife as kind of my focal point because it was around that time that I got into the game. And I started out flipping houses like everybody else. I started buying rentals, got into lending about 4 or 5 years into the business, kind of by accident, to be honest. Built up a really nice lending company. I've hosted and managed masterminds nationwide, spoken on a bunch of stages. I have some really cool friends that, like you, that just give me opportunities to get on a stage and share.
Awesome. Yeah,
Doing
it's funny you mentioned the 21 years, and sorry to interrupt you there, but I too started investing 21 years ago, and I mark it when I was like 8 months pregnant with my second child. And I don't remember specifically the year because that's when it was when my husband dragged my feet to the closing table to buy our first rental property.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I still remember the days of trying to do it. I mean, when I got started, I mean, it was like everybody else. I had a full-time job, high demand, it was a very high demand job too. I mean, it really required a lot of energy and effort and focus and overtime. I had a couple of small kids. I had just gotten married, and somehow magically I actually started out in real estate and was successful relatively quickly, which most people think is amazing. Like when you hear that kind of stuff, that actually
Right.
creates problems, right? And then because now I'm not seeing my wife and I'm not seeing my kids, and it's taken some work. And through the art of negotiation and stuff, it's actually helped me figure out how to speed up the process and how to
Mm.
free up some time because it just simplified things so much.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Idaho investors, here's a stat that might surprise you. Over 70% of successful real estate investors say their best deals didn't come from the MLS or from a cold online lead. They came through their network. So if you're serious about growing your portfolio, it's time to get in the right room. Join Idaho REIN, the Idaho Real Estate Investor Network, an affiliate of the National RIA. We're here to inspire, connect, and equip you to build real wealth through real estate. Success doesn't happen in isolation. Get in the room where it's happening. Visit idahorean.com and join us today. People want to hear about that. A lot of our listeners are in the position that you and I were in 20 years ago. they're working full time or they're successful at their own business, which is awesome, and are at a place where they're kind of going, okay, well, we got that going. We got this one income stream. What next? What else? I'm going to take you back there for a minute. What was that little click in your mind that made you actually pursue something besides your busy job at that time?
So I've kind of always been an entrepreneur at heart. Even back then, like I didn't really know that I was. I just have kind of always thought about things, and even my jobs that I did, I always ran my career like it was a business. Like I always just naturally took a certain level of interest in what I was trying to do. It was not my idea to get into real estate. It was actually my wife's idea, which a lot of people on here I'm sure can relate to this, but it really equates back to Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. And back when my wife and I got married, we were so broke. We couldn't afford cable TV. We didn't have anything. Matter of fact, we didn't even have a TV in our house for the first like 4 months that we were married. And when we finally could afford to buy a TV, all I could get was rabbit ears. And I started real estate investing because I was flipping through all 5 channels. And Robert Kiyosaki was working with PBS to help them raise money to keep the TV channel on the air. And my wife just saw it and she's like, "I think we can do this." And really that was the spark was my wife just believing in us and believing in me and what we could do.
Oh, I love that, and th that's we have a lot in common, so we can talk about that offline, but I didn't see the Robert Kiyosaki commercials. That was, those late night infomercials. I think I was yeah, small kids. I wasn't staying up that late at that time, but that is so cool. I think that's another whole thing we could do another podcast about. We won't today, but that couple dynamics and working together to start that up, and I know after you started flipping, you got into private lending, correct? And you have a very successful company today. Give us a quick recap of what you're doing today, just so that the audience knows with lending.
So I actually own 2 lending companies now. One is in Boise, Idaho, where you are, and the other's actually over here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where I am. So I bounce back and forth between them, but we have physical local presence in both cities. We're covering most of the country now between the 2. And so I've built out a pretty good team, which we were chatting about a bit before the show started. So most of my energies now are poured into what I call the hard deals, the stuff that doesn't fit the cookie cutter box. That's where I put most of my energy at, and really trying to help people just grow. And like I'd said before, which is why I really like the hard ones, is because I'm a firm believer in you have to give to get. So it's not about getting anything. I just try to give and help and share as much as I can. And it just the truth is that's really where all of my success comes from.
I can tell. No, we've just gotten to know each other this year, but I can definitely tell where your heart's at, and I love what the direction that your companies are going. It's so cool. On that note, I know you do mentoring, you've had students, you've helped so many along the way. So let's spend a few minutes talking about this idea of negotiation because I think a lot of people, especially if they're coming from the quote unquote W-2 world or the employee rule world, that's not something that's in your everyday vernacular. And then all of a sudden you get into real estate investing and you hear all the time that the money's in the buy and you got to get the best deal possible. Let's take it from the lens of a buyer in real estate, particularly in today's market. I know that there's a lot more negotiation right now going on than there was a couple of years ago. Can you share with us some tips on those negotiations as a buyer?
Well, so my approach to negotiations really goes against the grain of what most traditional books, tapes, courses that you're going to find out there are going to get into. My version of negotiation stems from something that a friend of mine, his name is Bill. Bill had taught me this a while back. And he's our job as real estate investors is not to buy houses. It's to solve people's real estate problems. And he also told me that negotiation is trying to figure out what the other person needs so that you can give it to them. You just need to give it to them in a way that works for you. And if you can do that, you'll end up buying some houses. And in the meantime, you're just going to help a whole lot of people get out of whatever situations they're in. Not every house that we go into is a property that we want to buy. I know there's a lot of, especially newer real estate investors, they think every single house is a deal, and they think that, "Oh, I got to buy every single one that comes across my plate." But the truth is, not every house really is a good deal. And so, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't help people, right? Sometimes the best solution for a home seller is you really should be listing this with an agent. Like, you shouldn't sell it to me. I can't tell you how many times I've been at somebody's kitchen table and they've said, or I've said to them, like, "I'm so sorry. I really don't think I'm the best solution for you. I really think that you should list this with an agent." And they've looked at me and said, "I just don't want to do that."
Mm,
It's not about the agents themselves. It's they just don't want the people traipsing through the house. They don't want to have to clean it 24/7 to keep it ready for a drop of the hat thing. They just want the pain and the suffering and the situation to go away. And they don't want to add to it. And just by being honest with people and truthful about their situation, they'll sell you their house anyway. And they'll do it at a price that works in most cases, or at least they'll go as low as they can. And sometimes the price, it just isn't good enough for us to make a deal out of. But another thing that, strangely enough, I'll probably mention Bill a bunch of times in the call because he's taught me so much over the years. One of the other things that he said is sometimes the best that we can do is to help somebody lose less money, right?
mm.
We could buy it, but they might have to bring money to the table in order to close. Now, you don't see that happen very often because most people can't. So, the true art of negotiation stems around, for me, three core concepts, which is mirroring, labeling, and just learning to be quiet, silence, right? It's really the art of conversation. The way that I negotiate with people is no longer about sales per se. It's really just, how can I get you to tell me your story? Because if you tell me your story and you tell me your situation, I can help you solve the problem. And the crazy thing is that the more conversational that you can get the discussion going, the more that the person you're talking to actually knows how to solve their own problem. And they'll actually tell you what the answer is, but they don't know how to put it together. And so that's where we come in, is then we take what they need and we build that solution in front of them and give it to them. And it's really, really hard for somebody to not say yes when they have everything that they're looking for is now right in front of them. And it just comes from really using those three strategies to do it.
Okay, so recap the three strategies one more time.
Mirroring, labeling, and silence.
Silence. I love that. I know attended a workshop recently where we practiced the art of not jumping ahead thinking of what you're going to say next. When you're listening to that, in this case with a seller across the table, right? And figuring out what's most important to them. With that, there's the huge label everyone thinks of when we talk about negotiations these days, or at least most people in the personal development space think about Chris Voss and never split the difference. What are your thoughts on splitting the difference? Do you give your highest and best when you come to that seller, or what's your philosophy there?
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, if you really study Chris Voss, because he's honestly one of the key figures that helped me make the leap from what I used to do in negotiating to these three core principles.
Okay.
You jump on, say, YouTube, or you read his books, you're going to start hearing those three words. Now, he calls them mirroring, labeling, and dynamic silence, but it's really about the art of mirroring conversation. Like, a lot of people think mirroring is just body language, right? Like, when you're out to dinner and somebody leans forward, you lean forward, and when they lean back, you lean back, and we mirror each other's body language frequently, and we actually do it naturally. Now, when you do it fake, it's really obvious because people who tend to fake it, that you do it way too much. But the mirroring that I'm talking about has nothing to do with the body language. It has everything to do with how you ask your questions and how you can get them to continue talking. I'll use your kids as an example because my kids are the same thing, right? Right? Really, anybody's kids. And anybody that doesn't have kids, I know kids, so it's okay. Think about, like, when a kid comes home from school, and as a parent, we look at them and we say, "So how was your day?" And what do the kids say? "Good." And they're done. That's the end of the conversation, right? Well,
Right.
how do you actually find out what was really good about the day? Well, it's not that hard. You can say, well, name one thing that was really good that happened today. And they'll think hard because they're not used to it. And so in the beginning, it's going to be hard for them to come up with the one thing. But if you can get them to say the one thing, as soon as they say it, mirroring just means you're going to pick 1 to 5 words out of the last sentence that they say, and you're going to repeat it back to them as a question.
Okay.
Same principle applies to sellers. It applies to our significant others. It applies to our coworkers, our friends, our family, whatever. See, in order for you to ask the question, just with those 1 to 5 words, you have to listen and you have to pay attention. And you're telling the person that you're talking to that you're listening and paying attention because you repeated back a couple of words to them. And I say 1 to 5 because we could be sitting at a seller's kitchen table and they could say, well, I need $200,000 for my house. And all you have to do is look at them and go, 200,000? That's it. And they're going to, and just then the silence kicks in, which is awkward for people. And so
Right.
silence hang. They will automatically sense that you asked 200,000 as a question because your tone said you're asking a question. 200,000 by itself is not a question, but you've made it a question. And they go, oh, yeah. So here's why I need 200,000. And they'll start telling you everything about how they came up with their numbers. Most sales stuff teaches you to ask all these questions like, well, how did you come up with 200,000? It's too complicated because most of the people that we're dealing with are not sophisticated people. They're not salespeople. A lot of them have not sold more than 1 or 2 houses in their entire lifetime. It's not something we sell or buy frequently. And so they don't know how to behave. But if you use conversational type things where you're being curious and inquisitive, they can't help but tell you what you want to know.
Gotcha. If you're on the other side of the table, I know you've been in a position where you've sold properties, and I obviously you're a very sophisticated seller. Let's take it to that side. Maybe not the uninformed seller, but the seller that is has a listed property, a marketed property. Maybe they're representing themselves out there. Any tips for negotiating as a seller? And I'm keenly interested as a listing agent myself.
Well, so that's the beauty of the strategy of mirroring, right? Who has the problem? And the truth is, both the seller and the buyer have a problem. Think about it that way naturally, but both sides have a problem. So when I'm acting as a real estate investor and I'm trying to buy, my problem is I don't have a house to buy. I'm also trying to communicate with the seller who has a problem and they need to sell their house. Well, when you flip the tables, it's still the exact same scenario. I'm just now the seller. I have a problem. I need to unload this house. The buyer, he has a problem. He wants a house. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about homeowners, it doesn't matter if we're talking about real estate investors. In every scenario, they're people. And so when you communicate in a way that is inquisitive and is questioning, people can't help but tell you what it is. If you're the seller, it's easier to manipulate and control the negotiation of the price to get the higher number by asking questions and repeating back to your potential buyer what it is that they're telling you. Because your job as the seller is to figure out their problem. How can I sell you my house? So we're
Mm.
trying to solve the buyer's problem. So same problem or same scenario, same situation, same words, same
Yeah.
question style, same mirroring techniques works in both ways. The most dangerous negotiation you'll ever be in your entire life is the one you don't know you're in. So think about that for a
Huh.
second.
Unpack that for us.
Okay. So if I'm the buyer, do I think I'm in a negotiation on my side? The answer is no, you're not. So when you're the seller, if you are asking better questions than the buyer does, guess who's in control of the conversation? Guess who has the most influence over what's going to happen? The buyer does not realize that they're in a two-way negotiation. They only think they're in a one-way, right? Because they're like, well, how can I just get my price? It's really difficult for them to come down or drive down the price as far as they want it to go when you're in control of the conversation. So mirroring works from both positions by taking control of the conversation by saying less. That's
Okay.
because if we're only saying 1 to 5 words, and occasionally you're going to ask real legit questions. I mean, don't think it's like 100% mirroring. But whenever questions are asked and then statements are made, always make more questions. And you essentially just keep doing it 1 to 5 words, keep asking the same thing. 200,000. How did you get there? Oh, whatever it is that they say, just repeat it back to them. They'll keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. Because remember, there is this old word, he who talks first loses.
Mm,
Right? So he who talks most is the person who's always talking first. So
gotcha.
control it through the mirroring and the labeling and the silence. This is one of those things where it sounds really, really cool and it's really interesting. And you're like, man, I'm not sure this kind of stuff would really work. I promise you, go just try this out on your kids, your significant other, your coworkers. Go. This is why it's more of a conversational approach and a technique of just how to talk to people. It's so natural and it's so connective that no one has any idea that you're doing it to them. It's completely different than the most of the sales techniques that are taught out there. Sales techniques are always teaching you to go for yes. And when you do it this way, you don't have to be worried about the yeses because they automatically and naturally just happen without any pressure that the other side feels. And when people don't feel pressure, their guard is down. And when their guard is down, it's so much easier.
Yeah. And one thing that hit me as you're discussing this is the fact that we're talking so much about communication in the first place. Hey, Idaho friends, if you're busy like me, you're always on the lookout for trusted professionals that can help you with your business, home, and investment needs. Whether it's a trusted lender, property manager, or a service provider that you're going to have come into your home or work on your investment property, there's always a need out there, and we want you to have great and trusted resources at the ready. In response to this, Idaho Reen has developed an exclusive vendor directory chock full of businesses that are ready to help our community. Head on over to idahoreen.com, grab your free copy today, and don't forget, let them know that Idaho Reen sent you. There's a, I know this as well as I do, there's just a huge wave of no communication. And I know that as an agent and as an investor myself, and the random texts trying to negotiate and or an email just sent across with no words, no preemptive conversations. That I think just by opening up a communication and making sure that you're taking the time to actually get in front of someone, don't you think that just sets you apart from the masses right now?
1000%. This is why learning how to have a conversation is so critical because it's actually becoming a lost art. Like,
Mhm.
I'm so text oriented, right? We're sending Facebook messages, LinkedIn messages, text messages, whichever platform you're using. We're so used to just texting everybody everything. There's
Mhm.
no real context to it. This is why so many people get mad at each other so easily is because I'm assuming your emotions. That's
Right.
the experience, not yours.
Yeah.
But if you can
And it
have
I'm sorry.
we can just have that 2 minutes to have these conversations, it
Yeah.
is what sets you apart from every other real estate investor out there.
For sure. And no matter what market, I remember being in a market with as a listing agent when we were in flurries of multiple offers, which spoiler alert, there's not a whole lot of those going on in 2025 right now. At least here in Boise, Idaho. But I one time I missed an offer completely that came into my inbox and I was dealing with 8 other offers negotiating on them and that poor agent's clients like, they no text, not even a text, no other email communication, no phone call. They just threw their offer in the ring. It was a good offer. Luckily, it wasn't the winning offer, but they just sent it over blindly with no communication. And I just say that to it's so obvious, but just to remind everybody that you have to make yourself known in these markets and open up this negotiation. And it's a very real possibility with now in a place where people are getting messages from everywhere, whether it's instant Facebook Messenger or DMs and all the different places that you can never assume that they're even seeing your attempt to negotiate. So picking up that phone is critical.
I have a fantastic team. I mean, you made comments about just working with my team schedules,
Yeah.
top of things they are. My own team suffers from the same problems that everybody else does, right? Everybody just loves to text. We use Slack in the background to communicate with everybody. And the best investors that I know in the country, it's not that they don't text, it's not that they're not sending emails, but they pick up the phone and they call. When they pick up the phone and call, you can hear people's emotions. You can hear their excitement. You can hear their disappointment. You can tell their state to be able to have these conversations, even if you can't see their face. Like you can hear it when people are smiling because it's really hard to not be upbeat and happy when
Right.
you talk.
Right.
Picking up the phone and being able to have conversations with people, to be able to get to sit down at their kitchen table with them and spend 15, 20, 30 minutes with them literally sets you apart from almost everybody else. Almost everybody that I know now wants to do everything virtually and just send emails, texts, and offers without ever talking to anybody.
Yep.
And they wonder why they struggle so much.
Yep.
The rest of us who've figured out how to talk to people are crushing it. And it's not that we're smarter than anybody else. We're just
Right.
doing that one thing, which is communicating.
Right. That I think for those people that are listening that are not licensed agents, if they're going to work with real estate agents before, even if it's just to sell their personal home, I would highly, highly suggest that they interview those agents and ask them about their communications practices with their peers and other agents and buyers, right? Because I've just oh my gosh, that's it's the worst. And agents are notorious for poor communication. And, if you can negotiate yourself, all the better, but if you're not able to, definitely make sure you're in the right hands. And I'm gonna segue that with the private lending world and hard money lending world. First of all, which phrase do you really affiliate yourself with, Jeff? Is it private money lending or hard money?
So we tend to do more private lending than we do hard money lending. And
Okay.
it's a hard topic for a lot of people to really wrap their head around. More people will associate me naturally on the hard money side than the private money side. I've kind of developed a definition to help people understand why it is they differentiate the way they do.
Please share that.
Most people think private lenders are just strictly private people. Like it's just you, it's just me, it's our neighbor, right? It's our friend at work. That's a private lender. And that is true. That is a private lender. A, in the hard money space, you're tending to deal with professional lenders, right? Now, I still tend to prefer to call myself a private lender because that's where almost all of our funding comes from.
Mm,
We're raising capital constantly to fund everybody's deals, right? And so in the end, are you getting a loan from a very private individual? You absolutely are when you come through us. Now, there are some products that we offer that there's no way to have these products without institutional money behind it. Well, like when you start talking about the DSCR products and stuff like that's all Wall Street money. Insurance companies, pension plans, it's big institutional guys that are doing that. But when we're talking about doing a flip or shorter term capital, that's almost always coming from short term private people. Even a lot of hard money lenders out there are doing the same thing. We're using private capital for our smaller, shorter stuff that's in our backyards. So it just kind of depends. It's kind of really what does the lender really specialize in and how do they approach it? I know people that call us, they're usually pretty surprised at our level of knowledge. And it has to do with the fact that after spending 20 years flipping houses, you tend to see a lot. And then as a lender, I'm also very proactive. I tend to work on the more hard stuff today than I do just every single deal that comes our way. But the hard stuff, I still love doing the harder problems because that's where the really creative juices get to come out and we get to work on structuring deals and how can we rearrange things so that it fits the box. A lot of deals don't fit the box, but that doesn't make them a bad deal. It just means we got to figure out like how do we shift the box around a bit so that we can present properly. Most lenders don't because they're commission oriented. Most professional hard money lenders, they're commission oriented. And so it either fits the box or they're ready to move on, right? For them, it's just all about volume and it's very impersonal. Not that all of them are like that, but that's an experience that a lot of people get. And when people find a lender that cares enough to take the time and educate and help them and help connect resources and that kind of stuff, people will stick with them for forever. I mean, it's hard to pry a borrower away from a lender that works that way.
Yeah, that's a good lender when that happens for sure. Because people can be very picky right now, especially in our environment. It sounds like the way you're talking about structuring deals and figuring out how it's going to work together. I mean, that's really a form of negotiation too. Do you get in the bullpen, so to speak, with the buyer and work together to figure out how to
Oh yeah.
approach the seller?
Yep. I've sat down, like, this is going to sound a little crazy to some people, but literally, when I'm on the phone talking with a borrower and they're telling me the story about the property, because all this negotiation stuff that I'm talking about with doing mirror and labeling and silence, I'm doing that to the borrowers too. And I've trained my staff to do that as well.
Mm.
Reason is because we're just trying to get the story. Like, the best way for us to help you is to understand your situation. The same as when you were trying to buy it from the seller and you were sitting at their kitchen table, right? You were trying to solve their problem. I'm trying to solve yours. And the crazy things happen occasionally. Like, somebody's telling me the story, and it turns out that the seller would have been okay with seller finance, but the borrower didn't know how to put it together. They didn't recognize it. They didn't whatever. I don't know very many lenders that do this. I do have a couple of friends that will, but I've told people, it's like, listen, you don't need me. What you really need to do is this, and then I'll walk them through how to go back to the seller and restructure the deal. I'm working on one right now, which the borrower created a structure that's absolute. It's like an absolute no fly. Like, there's no way in the world anybody in the world is going to fund this thing the way they put it together. And yet it's a very simple fix. But most people won't spend the time to say, well, what are you trying to accomplish? Oh, oh, that's all you want to do? Well, listen, if we just tweak this one thing, it changes the entire dynamic of the deal. And now it's a completely fundable loan. And they've called 10 lenders and they've been shot down every time.
Mm.
You have to get into the trenches and you have to understand the story and the destination that they're trying to get to. Then you can come up with a loan product that fits.
That's so cool. It's an art, and I know that you've, like, truly seen it done. You've got there, you've got the boots on the ground experience, and so I think that's a huge offering that you're offering with both of your lending companies, and the fact that you are willing to think outside of the box is amazing. You mentioned in the trenches. So speaking in the trenches, we are in the trenches right now of planning Idaho Recon, which is coming in October, and we are so looking forward to having you as a speaker, Jeff, and I know we've talked about the power of community before, but if someone's on the fence and like wondering, do I really want to invest a whole day, day and a half at this thing, and I'm not really an investor yet. All the different questions people that might have popping into their heads. What would you say about the importance of getting together at something like a conference like Idaho Recon?
Well, as someone who's addicted to going to them, right? Transparent and tell everybody I am tainted in my view of going to conferences because I absolutely love them. But the reason that I love them is because, and I don't mean to take away from the conference at all when I say this, is about the speakers. The speakers are fantastic. I go for the knowledge. I love it. Like, I love to learn. And every conference I go to, I walk away with a ton of ideas. But the most important part of every single one of these conferences is also the networking with your other local investors. It's the community. Everybody that wants to wholesale, you guys need buyers. If you're a flipper or a landlord, you need wholesalers, right? Like, we have to connect. What better way to connect and learn simultaneously than going to a conference, right? And then beyond the conference, right, you've got your local group that you're running as well every single month. We need to show up at these things as often as humanly possible. And I know you can't go to every single one. Time is always a problem. Sometimes things cost money and that there's only so much to go around. But the fastest way to get ahead in this industry is to have a team built around you. And it's not just attorneys and title companies and real estate agents. It's
Right.
networked real estate investors who have knowledge of things you don't yet. It's working together to collaborate and educate each other. There's no better place to go to get it.
I love it. Thanks, Jeff. And we're so happy to have you as a key contributor to Idaho Reen. And jumping in here into our Idaho community has been amazing so far. Looking forward to the future. And as we wrap up, we'll put some things in the show notes, but what truly is the best way for people to get a hold of Alpha Lending today?
The best way is actually just to call the office. You call it 208-854-1122. Again, that's 208-854-1122. Sorry, I have so many phone numbers in my head from all the direct dial numbers and having multiple businesses. But yeah, but that's generally the best way to give it is just give us a call. Like, let's
Okay.
talk about your situation and how we can help.
Sounds perfect. I know they will do that. This has been a huge piece of valuable information. I learned some things today and I really appreciate your time today. And we will see you, if not before, we'll see you at the Idaho Reen event, but we will see you and hopefully all of you listeners, we will see you also at Idaho Recon October 10th. Come make sure you stop by and say hello to Jeff after he gives a great talk on the 10th. Everyone, go and grow. Have an amazing day, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining me here at the Idaho Real Estate Investors Show. I hope you're leaving with new insights and inspiration to help you truly grow wealth through real estate. If you enjoyed the show, do me a favor. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with those that can benefit from it. Go and grow, and I'll catch you on the next episode.